Okay, so welcome. Now we're going to talk about reactions. And first we need to remind ourselves of what a reaction is. And for our purposes, that means that atoms, molecules are either gaining electrons, losing electrons, or rearranging electrons. Okay, and as that happens, that means bonds between atom or molecules, and remember, bond is just a physical association. So that means that bonds are either forming, being broken apart, or being rearranged. Okay, now what we first need to start off with is just make sure that you understand what the shorthand notation is that chemists and biologists use when they're talking about reactions. Okay, so this right here is showing a reaction, and let's do some vocabulary. So A would be just any molecule, okay. B here would be any molecule, a different molecule. It's not the same as A. But you notice they're here on the left side of the arrow. And that means these are the molecules or atoms that we start with. Okay? So you can think of it like baking a cake. And this A here may be the flour, and B might be sugar. It's what we start with. The reactants, that's the vocabulary word. This arrow signifies that a reaction has occurred. And so again, that means that we've gained, lost, shared, rearranged electrons. And then over here, AB would be the product, what we end up with after the reaction. So for example, if you start with sugar and flour, you combine them together to get your product, which may be a cake. Okay, and so the way I think of it in this reaction that's shown is here's A, here's B, and all we've done is put them together, and this is AB. Okay. Now this is a special type of reaction. It's called a synthesis reaction. Synthesis means to make something. And in this case, we're taking two small molecules and we're smushing them together to get a larger molecule. Now here is a different type of reaction. You notice here we start with a larger molecule and we break it into pieces. Okay, so notice AB is our reactant, and A alone and B alone are our products at the end. Okay, and this is called a decomposition reaction. Now, why do you need to know these? Well, it turns out, particularly if you're thinking about the digestive system, these two reactions are incredibly important. Let me start with decomposition. So, originally you eat a hamburger, let's say, okay, and you chew it up, and then eventually the acid in your stomach and other things in your body take that hamburger. You could think of that as AB, okay, the larger molecule. This could be your hamburger, all right, and you're going to break it up through acid and all these other things into small pieces. And then these would be the nutrients that your body absorbs into the blood. Okay, so decomposition, that's one place that we really see it, is in digestion, in the digestive tract. Okay, now we've already said that to get a cell, you have to take molecules and atoms and smush them together to build a cell. So how does our body take nutrients and use those to build a cell? Well, it does a synthesis reaction. So these are the things we've absorbed. Alone, they may not be useful. And so to make the parts of the cell, we have to take these individual parts and smush them back together and then stick them inside of a cell in the right location to build up our cell. Okay. And so again, synthesis is taking small molecules and building large ones. Decomposition is taking large molecules and making small ones. Okay. And so what I'd like to do now is just to give you a couple of synonyms for these words: synthesis reaction and decomposition reaction. So if we have a synthesis reaction, to be able to do a synthesis reaction, you actually have to take, in most cases, you're going to take water away. So sometimes you may see it written as a dehydration reaction. These are the same things. The other thing that you may see it written as is synthesis is part of a general series of reactions in our body called anabolic reactions. And you may have heard of this word anabolic or before if you think of anabolic steroids that sometimes people take that build up muscle mass. Okay, that's what they're doing, is it's increasing the synthesis reactions in your body. There's a lot of negative side effects of that type of steroid use, but that's why you get that increase in muscle mass, is it's increasing these type of reactions in your body. Now, other types of synonyms: decomposition reactions. That's going to be the same thing as hydrolysis. Okay, that's where you're adding water. So you may see it written as a hydrolysis reaction. And then you would also see that a part of a general series of reactions called catabolic reactions or catabolism. Okay, and sometimes this is just a memory trick. Sometimes I think it's easy to forget whether catabolic is building up big molecules or tearing apart big molecules. So the way that I remember it is, I think catabolic has cat in it. And at one point in my life, I had a cat. And man, this cat had claws, and she tore up everything, and the edges of my couch were in ribbons. So I think of my cat with her claws tearing things into little pieces, and that helps me remember catabolism. So again, that's just a memory trick, and I would suggest that as you come across any unfamiliar words, you try and think of something that helps you remember it. And when you think of a really good one, you should email your instructor so they can continue to use that throughout the semester. Okay. Okay, and so the last type of reaction that I want to talk about, we've already gone through this, is this reaction that you see right here. And let me make it so you can see that. Oops. Very good. Okay, So this last type of reaction is where you have two larger molecules, okay, and you notice basically they switch partners, they switch pieces here. So again, let me show you with my little building block tools here. Okay, here is AB that we've seen before, and so now we're going to add in CD. Okay, so this is our reactants. This is what we start with, and all we're doing now is we switched partners. Okay. Now this makes sense. Switched partners, we've exchanged partners. Okay, so it's called an exchange reaction. And we'll see this a lot in energy reactions, particularly when we get to some of the muscle metabolism reactions. And so I'll point those out then because it'll make more sense to point it out then. But I want you to go ahead and be familiar with this type of reaction right now. Okay. All right. And so just a reminder, you have your notes, and rather than me typing it out, we've talked about it. So I would suggest you take a minute and see if you can go ahead and go through this part of your notes and write what we've discussed about in your own words. So what is a reactant? What is a product? What is a reaction? And then see, can you define and draw each of these types of reactions? Can you define and draw a synthesis, a decomposition, an exchange reaction? And one thing that I would suggest that's really going to help your learning is don't just write down what I say word for word. See if you can put it into your own words. Because if you can put it into your own words, then that correctly, then that means that you probably understand that concept. If you're just memorizing groups of words and then spitting them out there, that's not going to really help you think through problems and understand the later points of the course. So again, really work on putting things into your own words.